Welcome to the Couple-preneurs Show, helping couples in business develop structure and strategies that nurture the balance between business and home, bringing you interviews and insights to give you the secret sauce of power couples. Here are your hosts, Oscar and Kaya Frazier.
Entrepreneurs, couplepreneurs, people that want to get into business, those that are scared to get into business but not sure where to begin. If any of those things sound like you are absolutely in the right place and listening to the right show. I'm super excited to introduce to all of you a very special person and business extraordinaire to everyone here in just a moment. But I see Kaya is cutting her eyes over at me right now, which means we got to do sponsors. I almost forgot again. There we go. Okay, what we got? What do we got?
Okay, so our sponsors, we have CarolinaRunners.com. They are a family-owned trucking company, owner-operators that are looking for an authority. Please make sure you look them up and check them out. You can find them again at Carolina-Runners.com. We also have Talk Shirt to Me, shirts that speak and help you express yourself and your style. TalkShirtToMe.com is where you can find them. Again, that's TalkShirtToMe.com.
Man, you are getting pretty damn good at that.
Hey, I'm smooth.
You are showing up today. Whoa. All right.
Whoa.
But before we introduce, let me give a quick backdrop of why this person is so important, right? So this person actually knew me before I was even born, right? And so, probably, months and months and months before I actually came to this on this beautiful planet, this person knew me. And I've known her now for 39 years. Yeah. And I've seen her trajectory in the entrepreneurial world go from, small scale things that she was doing all the way to a very well-oiled machine, really enterprise that she's got right now. So without further ado, let me introduce to you all my sister, my one and only blood sister, Miss LaNiece Frazier. LaNiece, how is everything going today?
Hey, everything is going wonderful. I love that introduction. And because I indeed knew you before you were born. I was like, I'm about to have a little brother. So, yeah, and look, that we've been rocking ever since.
That's right.
So it's definitely a joy to be here, on the show with you guys, you and Kaya, and talk about entrepreneurship and, how we can, help others that's in, on that same path to be successful.
Absolutely. So why don't we do this? Because, I think I know a good bit about you, perhaps, and Kaya may know a good bit about you, perhaps, but the listenership may not, right? So if you can, give us the rundown of how you even got into entrepreneurship, your background, and what's some of the things that you're actually doing now?
Okay. Well, so entrepreneurship for me began, and I know, your listeners probably heard your story as well, because we have that similar story, really began growing up in Charleston, South Carolina, with a father and mother that were into entrepreneurship. So it began with, helping Daddy sand down bookcases on Saturday mornings, for his carpentry business. It was, riding in the trucks with Daddy when he was delivering, some of these bookcases and doing those kinds of things. It was helping in the restaurants that Mom was involved in, down in Charleston. So being raised around that and seeing so much of that, it was kind of natural progression that I was going to get into entrepreneurship, and really both of us, getting into that entrepreneurship life. And so, just seeing all of that, I knew at some point I'm going to be into entrepreneurship. Right. And I can tell you, and you already know, there's been plenty of businesses that I have been in, a lot of different things, I've had my hands in, and as Daddy would always say, you keep working at it, and at least one or two of those things are going to hit. So I've had my hands in a lot of stuff, and luckily, a couple of those things have hit and are doing very successful now. Now, my background, I actually went to, as you know, Johnson C. Smith, and then Ohio State. So my background is in social work, you know. And so a lot of people will say, well, how did you go from social work to running, you know, a hair products company and now a trucking business? And and it was very simple. I was, you know, working, you know, at DSS. I had a good government job, you know, the security of a good government job. And, you know, then that entrepreneurship bug kind of hit with some products that I've been working with and using, you know, for myself. And literally overnight, just about, it became a business. And it came from a thought. And I put a little action in place. And next thing you know, I'm making products and I'm whipping up products at the house. You know, and the next thing you know, I'm in the office and I'm mixing up products in the office and I'm doing all this by myself. And next thing you know, I'm hiring employees to be able to help. And, you know, and it has continued to grow since that time. So it's been a definite learning experience, a rewarding experience. And, you know, which always, you know, has its ups and downs. You know, every day is different. You know, there are no dull moments, as I know y'all know in business. So there's no dull moments at all, but it has really been a rewarding experience to, you know, now to where, you know, I'm running two businesses and in that process of still working on managing time between those two businesses. So it's definitely been a great experience thus far.
Absolutely.
So, Nakia, I'd like to ask you, like, what was the aha moment when you decided that okay, corporate space is not where I want to be anymore. And I think that I'm ready to just take this leap and jump out. What was the aha moment and what did it feel like?
Well, okay, so that moment came at the end of 2013 to the beginning of about 2014. And I remember now, and I started my business back in 2011. So at the end of 2013, by that time, you know, I was already growing the business and I was working, you know, as a social worker, a social work supervisor at that time. And I was realizing that I was actually losing money by trying to focus on this job that I had, this, you know, secure job that I had. And I realized I was losing some money and that I could have been doing a whole lot better if I could really focus all of my time on the business. So at the beginning of 2014, when, you know, the county passed out our calendars for the year, you know, I got my calendar and I said, you know what, you know, this is going to be the year that I leave, you know, social services. This is going to be the year. And so I turned to November of 2014 on that calendar, and that's my birth month. And so I wrote on there, I went up to my birthday and I said, last day, you know, at DSS, you know, full entrepreneurship, because I was really scared up until that time because, you know, it does take a huge leap of faith to be able to say, hey, I'm going to leave the security of a job, of a government job, to go pursue this entrepreneurship thing, you know, where I really don't know, you know, really what's going to happen. I know I've been making money, but, you know, but I also still had the security of this government job with me. So I knew that if I did not write it down and have a date in place in my mind that I was going to be working up towards leaving, that I probably would have never left. I would have never left the security of that job. And so once, you know, I had written that down, you know, things just kind of started, you know, taking place, just kind of moving into place, you know, throughout that year. And I said, you know what, I've already written down, so I've got to make this happen. You know, I've got to make it happen. And it all just fell into place right after that.
LaNiece,
yeah, definitely.
What does motivation mean to you?
Motivation, for me, and it's taken on a lot of different meanings for me over the years. But for me now, motivation is just my desire to do better, you know, and it's that internal desire to continuously do better, you know, and in that, it's not doing better than the next person. It's doing better than who I was and what I did the previous day. So if every day I can strive to do just a little bit better, you know, and just to have that internal drive to say, hey, I did good yesterday, but what can I do differently? What's the one thing I can do differently today that will make this day just a little bit better? And I've really tried to run my businesses. I've tried to run my life. When I look at my life, I try to do that, personally as well. What can I do just a little bit better that is going to, make life a little bit better, make the business a little bit stronger? So that's really kind of guided me over all of these years.
That's really key. That's a nugget right there. Running your own race and not comparing yourself to other people and other successes that you see.
Absolutely.
But just make sure that you're getting better every single time that you put forth effort towards your business, towards your life, and run your own race. I like that.
Right. Right. It is. And it's your own race. And it's really getting lost in your own greatness, not getting lost in someone else's definition of success, because I could sit here and compare, my life and my business to all of these other businesses out there. And, there's a lot that are doing, a whole lot better. There's a lot that's doing a whole lot worse. But, I really have to be focused on, the greatness that I know I can achieve as opposed to anyone else's. And I just continuously focus on that. Let me just get lost in what I can get lost in, that greatness and that potential. And so that continues to drive me, throughout the years.
Take us back to the time when you had your first major sale with Liquid Gold hair products. Like that feeling like, and if you want to walk through, what actually, who the client was, feel free. But we'd like to just hear that story. And then after that, we want to segue into like the overall startup process and those sorts of things.
Okay. So I'm over here about to do the happy dance because I'm reliving that moment. Because I'm reliving that moment, because, because in the retail end, you have to you want your customer to believe in your product and to believe in your company. And so, I was excited, and I'll tell you, I was excited several different moments over the years. The first time I was excited, super excited, was when I can still remember receiving that very first order that came in. And when I tell you the excitement that just like shot through me, I was like, whoa, someone really wants these products. Someone is really, and it's day after day would come. And some days I'd be waiting for orders, like, please just let there be another order, and then next thing you know, there's another order and there's another order. But I remember the day I got an order that was the largest order I'd ever seen. And so I'm looking at the screen, like, is this right? And I'm looking again, and I'm backing up and I'm walking around. I'm like, okay, is this correct? Like, look, are they trying to scam me? Or what is going on? And so I remember sending an email to this customer because she was in Ghana. And so I remember sending an email and, just confirming all the details. And, because I'm excited, you want to be excited. And I was excited, but I was cautious at the same time. And so I remember, confirming the details. And, once I realized that, hey, this is real. This is a real situation. So, I kind of, ran to the office a little bit and did a little happy dance. Did a happy dance. I will say I did that. I did some happy dancing around the office. And, but just that adrenaline rush was just like unmatched. It was just unmatched. It was just such a wonderful, wonderful feeling because, not only, I knew the products worked and I know they work, but for the general public and someone not even in the country, for someone in Ghana to say, hey, she'd already used the product and she said, hey, I want to be able to bring these products to my neighbors and to the folks around me. So it was just amazing. It was amazing, an amazing feeling. So I was definitely so thankful to experience that.
Yeah. And then, about 6 months ago or so, for all the listenership here, I got a call from LaNiece, and she had mentioned that she was thinking about getting into trucking. And I said to myself, well, wait a minute, Nakia's already got a very successful, business already. She's working and how she's trying to be able to do this trucking thing. So I reluctantly says to her, hey, I think it's a great idea. Do your thing. Let me know how it goes. Right.
Right.
And I don't know, maybe even not even a month later, she said
right.
sitting in a truck, a Big Mac. And so I said, holy shit, she wasn't kidding. Like she really got into it. You know?
Right.
What was the driver for you to get into the logistics and trucking business? And what did that startup process look like for you?
Yes. So with this trucking, it was something because, I with Daddy, I remember, being over at Daddy's house and, a person that, I knew at that time was in trucking. And, so I was telling Daddy, about the fact that, this trucking, company that, this person was in. And so I remember Daddy saying at the time, he was like, well, maybe need to run the numbers. Maybe, we can get involved in this trucking business. And so, and I remember at the time saying, okay, this sounds good. And I knew that at the time, this person that I, had been in communication with about trucking and everything didn't have what it took to be in entrepreneurship. And I said, well, no, this is probably not the time, because didn't want to get, Daddy's money involved and, something, something involved with someone that wasn't really into entrepreneurship like I was, like Daddy was, like you are, and Kaya.
Right.
And so, last year, after, Daddy passed away and, after some months had went by and at the beginning of this year, I said, you know what? I think, one of the things that I can do to honor, Daddy's memory would be to look more into this trucking business.
Right.
Look more into that. And so, I started putting some feelers out and, my partner has been, along, with me the whole way and has been showing the ropes. And literally, I went out and I said, start looking at trucks. I had it in my mind. I'd already put it in my mind. Because, us, once we put something in our mind, we're focused on it. There's nothing else. I don't look at nothing else. It's like nothing else. Like any money that I was getting in extra from Liquid Gold, I was like, oh no, I'm holding on to this because it's going to go into this truck.
That's right.
And so that's exactly what happened. Me and my partner, we went out and, we're looking at trucks and, he's pointing out, the types that I could get, the ones that, looked great and all of this great stuff. And, from that point on, it has literally taken off, from the point of buying that truck and, getting the first contract and then getting the second contract. And it has really, really taken off and been a great turning point, in terms of business. It has really been just a wonderful situation so far. It's been a learning experience because I think that, even when I first got into it, I'm thinking, hey, you get a truck and put it on the road. And collect some checks. And so, it's a little more involved than that. But it's been a good experience. And I've been, working on, managing, both businesses. And but it has been, a great experience so far. And definitely, like I say, a learning experience, but a good one.
I think that's a great nugget for our listenership as well to understand that there's this idea that just keeps following you and it keeps presenting itself to you.
Right.
And it's just gnawing away at you. Don't ignore it. There might be something there, and it's really about that nervousness, that anxiety of taking the leap and taking the jump to actually find out if it's for you or if it's not,
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And Oscar, you posted something the other day on Facebook that was similar, and it was really good. But the gist of it was that some opportunities only come once.
That's
right.
Sometimes you got to go ahead and jump on that opportunity because you may not get that opportunity again. And so, and that's really what happened with the trucking. It was like, look, here's an opportunity. And if I don't jump on this opportunity now, I may never have the opportunity, again in the future. So it was really a matter of, jumping into that opportunity. You know, and luckily, you know, also having a partner that is entrepreneurship minded as well, because that makes a huge difference in, you know, choosing very well, you know, making sure that, you know, especially if you're in business and you have a partner, you want to make sure that if you're going to do this business together, that you all have very similar goals. You know, that you can say, hey, we both are entrepreneurship minded, because that can literally make or break a business.
Totally agree with you. You know, one of the things that the dad would say is, you know, don't try to get there before you get there, right? And it's kind of that same notion in business, is that this has to be a bit of a marathon. And the beauty that I heard you talk about, LaNiece, is that, you know, you go from, you know, you build the first business in the retail side, right? With the hair care growth products and in the beauty care world. And then when you move from that, once you have gotten that to a point of stability, then you look at the next. I think sometimes, and I know I've been guilty of this, where I may try to do everything at once, right? I want to build, you know, the consultancy. I want to get into these other 5 things. And what happens sometimes, you can get stretched a little thin. You know, talk to our listeners, especially those that may be, you know, in relationships, or to your point, they have a partner where they're both trying to build. What are some things that they do to make sure that they don't stretch themselves too thin when trying to build businesses?
Well, I think, you know, one of the important things, and like you said, one of the things you said, and I'm guilty of it too, is, you know, I almost call it sometimes that, you know, I might have a touch of ADHD sometimes when it comes to business, because, you know, my hands would be in so many different things, because I have so many these visions, you know, and I was just like, hey, you know, I'm going to start this, I'm going to get this one up and running, I'm going to do this. And what I realized was that, just like you said, I was stretching myself too thin. And so I think it's really important to be able to bring yourself back down into focus. So if you have couples that are in 2 different businesses, that, you know, and that's rough by itself. One is rough by itself. So when you have 2, you know, you really have to be really laser focused on, in terms of what the goals are of that business. And if there are couples involved, how are each of those partners going to work together towards a common goal? Because what ends up happening sometimes in business, and when you have couples involved, there becomes a competition. And you want to make sure that there is that common goal. And you know, and the other thing too, you know, sometimes you have to look at it and you say, hey, you know, are our goals the same? Because sometimes, you know, one person's ceiling, you know, is your floor. So they may say, hey, this is great. $50,000 is great per year. But then, you know, I'm on the other side saying, hey, no, that's not quite enough. You know, we need to be pushing this further. So you really want to, you know, make sure that both have very similar goals. And that's just really by, you know, asking the questions, you know, ask enough questions so that you know, because sometimes the decision might say, hey, let's just be in a relationship. You know, you know, not everyone wants to get into entrepreneurship, and that is perfectly fine. Some folks are completely okay with working a 9 to 5, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And so I think that in relationships, you know, you can't force someone into entrepreneurship, because that will always backfire. And so, you know, you want to make sure that each person has those similar goals, and just to remember also that you're still in a relationship. You know, remember the relationship, and then also, you know, remember, yes, you got a business to run, but there's also that relationship, and to always nurture that relationship even throughout the business. And so that's going to be the keys to success.
I think that was one of the toughest things for me and Oscar when we first started out, was making sure that we didn't forget about the fact that we were married. So heads down in the business, trying to build the business, for leads and trying to put infrastructure in place, and then tired after that and exhausted after that, and didn't leave time for ourselves. And once we kind of master, you know, okay, let's set up time for business, and then let's also some outlets. Let's have some, events that we can go to. Let's get away for the weekend. Those type of things are important and able to, and it enables you to balance out business and your relationship at the same time.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's so important because I experienced that firsthand, in a, previous marriage. It was, hey, it became, business, all business, and you have to carve out that time for the relationship to continue to grow. And so then so while you're in this business, it's like, hey, we're running a business and the business is very successful, but where's the relationship? At the end of the day, is this relationship still intact? And so, you've got to have that balance. It's so important. Yeah. So important.
That's probably a workshop within itself. Yeah. Around. What are the signs when, home is becoming work and work is becoming work, and you don't have a separation between those at all. So I totally understand. And one thing that I neglected to say earlier when I heard you talking about Carolina Runner on the logistics and trucking side is that work, and this is really for the listenership, but the work that LaNiece did also inspired myself and Kaya to get a truck once we saw what she did. Oh, yeah. And then my mother also bought a what do you call it?
Cargo van.
A
cargo van. Yeah. See, the day is getting long here today, but well, so I guess when it comes to building family businesses and those kind of things, it's always possible, and sometimes it does just start with the notion that I should pursue something, right? And I love that, the story that you've talked about. Of course, I was there to witness a lot of it, but I think this is something that is phenomenal. You know what I mean? And so let me ask people that want to get in contact with you, or they want to get, perhaps, they've got a truck they're looking at getting up under an authority, or they want to, buy some of your hair products. How can they get in contact with you?
Okay. So for the hair products, they can simply go to liquidgoldhairproducts.com. And so, all of the products are right there. If they hit that contact us button, I'll make sure that either myself or one of the staff will be able to answer any questions that they may have concerning that. If someone is interested in the trucking, they can go to carolina-runners.com and hit that contact us button. And whatever information that, I can share, I can provide, I definitely, would be happy to do that. Because there's certainly enough money to go around to be able to help, others that are interested in entrepreneurship. And even if they're not interested in entrepreneurship, there's always some help, right around the corner. So, it would be no problem at all if someone, wanted to reach out and, just get a little more information. Definitely provide that.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Being available to people to help them further their entrepreneurial paths or any questions they might have. We really do appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. Yes, no problem at all. Definitely enjoyed it.
All right. Well, Miss LaNiece, I know you as Nakia, but I want to make sure I stay
I know.
as formal as possible on this call. But as always, I've always admired your entrepreneurial experience and expertise. We're super proud of you, and we're glad that you actually came on the show today. I'm sure that we'll be back on. I'm sure we'll be having you back on here soon. So thank you again.
Oh, yes. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I have admired you and Kaya's journey throughout entrepreneurship. And just as much as, y'all have seen and learned stuff, looking on my end, I have learned a lot just from watching, you all's progression into the different businesses. It's just, it's been wonderful. So definitely a proud sister over here.
Excellent, man. Excellent. All right.
I'm getting a little mushy. Hold on now. Let me get myself together.
I know, right? All right. Well, thank you.
Indeed.
We'll be talking here in a little bit. Let's hear now.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. Y'all have a good one.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Couple-preneurs Show. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.kothoughtleaders.com.